My name is Candace, aka Picasso baby, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create your very own fall painting. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. If you're new here, welcome and thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to be working on something super fun and perfect for the season. As you all may know, we are officially in fall and it is October. We are entering spooky season, hoodie season, sweatpants season. We're entering the season of pumpkin spice everything, apple cider, reds, oranges, browns. One of my favorite seasons because it's not too hot and it's not too cold. So we're going to be working on a fall theme painting that will be perfect for fall home decor. Before we get started, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe so that you don't miss the next tutorial. So a few things we're going to be working with. As always, you want to make sure that you have a canvas. I am using a size 16 by 20 inch canvas, but you can always use the size of your choice. I'm also working with a water cup and some different size acrylic brushes. You want to make sure that you always have different sizes because we're going to be using them for different things, and that you have some paper towel to dry your brushes off on. Today I'm working with acrylic paint. I'm working with bright red, black, white, chrome yellow, phthalo blue, burnt sienna, and I have two special guests here today. So I'm going to also be working with a few different brown shades from the company Skin Acrylic Paint. This is a black woman owned company, and she specifically makes skin acrylic paints that are great for skin tones of melanin or all skin tones, but they're super great. Definitely check them out. I'm going to link their information below, and I'll also place their Instagram photo in here so that you can follow them. But yeah, so the colors I'm going to be using are Nevea, and I'm also going to be using Chloe Ray. So let's go ahead and get started. As you all can see, I am working with a blank canvas because we're going to do a lot of sketching out today. So I'm going to be sketching my landscape out with my brush. If you want to do it with like a pencil or a marker first, you definitely can, but you don't have to because it's going to be super easy. This painting is really easy. It's almost like a couple of weeks ago we did the waterfall painting, and it's a landscape again, so it's going to be a lot of just, you know, adding different textures and adding different colors, so it's going to be super easy. So I am using a medium round brush first, and I'm going to use my yellow. I'm going to go into my yellow first to get some things mapped out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to divide my sky and my ground area, and I actually want less sky and more ground. So what I'm going to do, probably about a hand's width, I am going to pull a line across. Doesn't have to be a perfect line because remember that line is not going to be there after a while anyways. What I'm also going to do is map out where my walkway is going to go. So again, we're doing a landscape, kind of like a fall park kind of thing. So I am going to start from the top, and I want mine to kind of curve a bit. So I'm going to start from the top, curve that way, and then curve down. And I'm going to do the exact same thing right next to it. So I'm not starting like right on it, but I'm starting right next to it. This time I'm following the same shape as the first line, but as I go further down, I want to go further away from the original line. So you see how up here the gap between those two lines is super narrow, and then down here it's a much larger gap. So that's exactly what you want here. And now I am going to also map out where my sun is going to be. So I am going to have some sky area here, and I want my sun to pretty much be at the beginning of the trail. So I'm going to take my yellow, and I'm just going to do a nice little curve over the beginning of the trail. And now that I have that, I'm going to actually go ahead and wash that brush, and I am going to switch to more of a flat brush, and I'm going to go ahead and get my sky in. So for my sky, I'm picking up white and blue, painting everything above this line and also around that circle. So again, I'm doing everything above the line and around the circle. And you don't have to get like super close to the sun line, because you don't want to like pick up any green into your sky. If you do, don't worry, you can always blend it out. But just try not to get like super close to it. So as we're working on this, you know, I want to talk to you all about something else that fall normally represents. Fall normally represents cuffing season. And if you don't know what cuffing season is when you find a mate, when you go ahead and settle down, because it's getting close to hibernation time. It's getting close to the winter. It's time to get booed up, as LMA would say. So it's so funny to see like all of the social media jokes and everything right now about like the cuffing season schedule, how things should be going. And one of my friends actually likes to call it fall in love fall. And we're currently, you know, doing our best to fall in love this fall. So if you are one of those people that are participating in cuffing season this year, or if you're, you know, trying to make sure you fall in love this fall, comment down below. Let me know what you're doing. Give me some tips on this. Or if you fell in love last fall or a previous fall and it has been great and it's been successful, give me some tips. Let me know what you did. So now that we have this completely filled in, what I'm going to do now, I am going to go back into my sun, but I'm actually going to go back to that round brush that we were working with at first. Just make sure you dry it off. And now I'm going to actually pick up some white first. So I want to pick up just white first, and I want to create that line again. So now I'm creating the curve for the sun. And if you pick up a little bit of blue, no worries. You just want to keep going across the curve. So don't fill anything in the middle in yet. Just focus on that curve in the middle. And then I am going to wash my brush. And I'm going to go back into some white, but this time I'm going to also pick up some yellow. And now I'm going to get everything else filled in. So I want to get all of this filled. And again, if some of your blue got in there and you got a little bit of green, no worries. What I am going to do, because we are going for the fall look, I actually want to give this a little bit of an orange look. So I'm going to take a little bit of red on my brush, and then I'm actually going to wipe it on my plate. I'm going to wipe it on my plate, add a little bit of white to wherever you wipe it at so that it kind of mixes up to an orange. And I'm going to go in. And if it comes out like a little bit too dark for your liking, add white to your brush. And you're just blending this all in there. Still leaving some of the yellow showing like around the edge, or some of that white showing. But just make sure you get that nice orange blended on in. Perfect. So now that we have that, I am going to also go ahead and fill in my walkway area, so my little trail, because again we're doing like a fall theme park. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my trail. For my trail, I'm still using the medium round brush, but I am switching to a gray mixture. So I'm mixing up black and white right on my plate, and I'm just going to go in and fill in all of this little pathway. And as you're doing this part, you definitely can go ahead and cover up those yellow lines. If all of your yellow lines don't get covered, it's completely fine. You don't have to worry about it too much. I'm just gonna work on getting this filled in, and then we'll move to the next step. All right, so now that we have that completely filled in, now I want to go in and I want to fill in all of these areas, these two areas. I want that to be my grass area. So we're going to have trees coming from there and different plants. So I'm going to get that completely filled in like grass. And for that, I am going to be creating a bit of a texture. So you can use a bigger brush or you can keep using that medium round brush. I'm going to keep using that. And what I'm going to mix up right on my plate, I am going to mix some of my yellow with some of my blue. And I do want it to be a little bit darker. So I am using more blue than I am yellow, because I want a bit of a darker green. But again, you can do the shade of green that you want. It's completely up to you. And once you have this, two things that I'm going to do. I am going to outline right next to my walkway. And it doesn't have to be a perfect line. I'm actually kind of wiggling my brush a bit so that it's not a perfect line. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And this is where you kind of are getting that original line that we started with covered up. So like that yellow line we started with, this is how you're going to get that covered up. And now that you have that, what I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to mix up another shade of green too. So I'm going to mix up more of the yellow and blue. And this time I'm also going to add in a little bit of black, because I want it to be really dark, more like, or almost more like an olive green. But you definitely want it to be darker than your first green. And what I'm going to be doing is going back and forth between these two colors and just tapping down this entire, so even like where we had that yellow line at right by the sun, I'm going through and I'm just tapping all of this down. So even if I pick up some of my first green, you can even pick up a little bit of brown. Since the grass starts to kind of brown out in the fall, it starts to dry out, you can even pick up a little bit of brown to get those really natural fall colors. So I'm just going to work on getting both sides of this completely filled in with this texture, and then we'll move on to the next step together in a few. All right, so once you have it all completely filled in, so you have your sky, your sun, your pathway, and you have your grass completely filled, all we're going to do now is just give this some time to dry. So you do want to make sure you take about a 5 to 10 minute break. If you don't want to take that long of a break, make sure you just grab a blow dryer, and you can blow dry it so that way it dries a bit faster. But also during your break, make sure if you are 21 and up, grab yourself a drink, an adult beverage, or if not, you know, again, we're in the fall season, grab yourself something pumpkin spiced or maybe some apple cider. It's completely up to you, or even some water. Today I am staying hydrated with the coldest, so if you do just want some water, it's completely up to you. But again, go ahead and take that break, and then we'll start on the next step in a few. Hurry up! So now that we have allowed our painting a few minutes to dry, it's time to go in and add some more layers. So this next layer that I'm going to be adding, I am going to actually be making some trees. So of course, many parks are filled up with trees. So that's what we're going to be adding in. And for that, I'm just simply going back to my medium round brush, or you can use a medium flat brush. I am also going to be mixing up a darker brown on my plate. So I don't want it to be super dark since the green grass is already dark. But I am going to be putting in a little bit of black into my brown. Or if you want lighter trees, and I'm going to actually make some lighter ones as well, you can mix up brown and white. That way you can have some different variation going on, because not all trees are the same. And what we're going to be doing, you can decide where your trees go, but some trees can definitely be taller than others, some can be shorter. It's going to be completely up to you, but I'm just going to focus on getting the tree trunks in here first, so just the lines. So literally I'm only making lines everywhere that I want a tree. So my trees that are like closer to the top, I'm actually, and you can pull it over stuff, I'm actually going to pull those trees right off of the canvas. And as you can see, I am working with my lighter color. Trees that are further down, they can either come from the bottom or they can just come from wherever you want them to in the grass. They don't have to go all the way off the top. I'm just going to do a few more. And they can be as big or as small as you want them to be. It's completely up to you. I'm going to even do a little tree trunk here. So I did a line kind of going to the side here, and I'm going to pull those all together. So that's just going to be a little tree trunk, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make it more like a tree trunk. But I'm going to go in with a couple more of my lighter brown trees, and then I'm going to switch to the darker brown. And again, I'm just doing lines right now. So you don't have to wash your brush, but you definitely can. I'm going into the darker brown now. I'm going to also go in and add some darker brown lines right on my tree trunk. Right there, and you do want to kind of space these out. I'm going to do a little short one here at the top. Now that you have all of those different tree trunks in, or different lines in for the trees, those are your bases. What I'm going to do to get this little tree trunk filled in, this little cutoff one, I'm going to actually, don't wash your brush, I'm going to take a little bit of white while that brown is still on there, and I'm actually going to create like a bit of an oval on the top of there to look like the rings on a tree trunk. And now I'm going to also go back into my lighter brown, and if you like it how it is with just lines, like for example this one right here, I'm going to leave as just lines, but like in other ones, I'm going to go in and actually pull out little branches, and also kind of make like if you can see the top of the tree, make sure the top is thinner than the bottom. Now if it goes all the way off of the canvas, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you can actually see the top of it, make sure it's a little bit thinner, or just go in and make the bottom a little bit wider. It's completely up to you. But I'm just going to go in and fix up or add branches to my lighter trees, and you can do as many or as few branches as you want, but just keep in mind you don't have to do a whole lot because we are going to be covering these with leaves, so it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I'm going to do another one here, and now that I have all of those the way I want them, I'm going to go back into my darker brown, and I'm going to do the same thing with those. So again, if you can see the top, make sure you thin the top out a bit. If you want to pull a branch off of it, you definitely can. It's completely up to you. And I have one more here. And again, keep in mind, these do not have to be perfect. We are going to end up covering most of them with the leaves, so don't stress yourself too much about them. So now I have my trees in there. I have a little tree stump in there, and now I want to kind of go in and add some different colors to my grass and kind of get those tree trunks looking like they are actually sitting down in there. So one thing I want to do specifically, and you can do this with the medium brush or the smaller brush. I'm going to keep using this medium brush because I want some bigger pieces. I am going to mix up some yellow, blue, and a little bit of white because I want this green to be a bit lighter because I want it to stand out from here. So what I'm going to be doing with this green, I am going to be going in different spots and pulling up little pieces of grass. You can do it like right in front of the tree trunk so that the tree trunks really look like they're sitting down into the grass. You can do it right along the edges of the walkway, like you can even pull some up on the walkway. It's completely up to you, but I'm just going in with my medium brush first, even though I am going to go in with the smaller brush too. And again, this step just kind of gives it more texture, gives it more of a realistic grassy look. And it also helps kind of sit your trees down in the grass, but you don't have to do it on every one because we are going to be adding leaves that are falling into the grass as well. So you can definitely put some of those in front of the tree trunks to make it look more realistic. So I'm just going to do some here, a bit here. And just keep in mind, the more pressure you use when doing this part, the wider your little grass lines will be, and the less pressure you use, the thinner they will be. And they definitely do not have to be perfect because this is all about texture. It's all going to get built up, so no worries. So now I am going to actually go in with a little bit of a smaller brush because remember I said in some of those spots I want a smaller line, and I'm going to actually add a little more white to my mixture because I want it to be a little bit lighter. So I'm just going in to make some smaller pieces of grass, and you can do as many or as few as you want. I'm going to do some right at the tree trunk. Make that look like it's sitting in the grass as well. And when you're doing this part, any painting where you're like adding a lot of texture, it can look a little crazy when you're first doing it because it's like, what is all of this? But just keep in mind, once you step back from it, you definitely are going to get a different view. And also, once everything is filled in, you'll be able to see the full picture. So, you know, just give it some time to grow. Literally. Give it some time to grow. All right, so now that I have those few pieces in, I'm gonna go ahead and add in some actual leaves. So for this part, I'm going to start out with more of my darker leaves, and because we're going for fall, I'm going to be using more of my browns, and also kind of like some reds as well, and some of your greens if you do want to add more green leaves. So now I am definitely going to be getting some of my skin acrylic paint out. Again, I'm using the shades Nevea and Chloe Ray, but you can also just use your burnt sienna and mix it with different colors. So I'm going back to my medium-sized round brush for this step. Make sure you wash it out really well and dry it off. And what I'm going to be doing, I am going to get in some browns first. So what I'm doing with these browns is right on the grass, I'm just kind of tapping some down to make it seem as though leaves have fallen. And they don't have to be like completely filled like how we did in the beginning with the green. They don't have to be completely filled at all. You just want to do it in a few different areas. And keep in mind, we are going to be doing multiple colors. And also, as you're doing this part, if you want to put some of the colors like actually on your branches, you definitely can. Even just like on the tree, because we're going to get this pretty filled in. We want this to be really leafy, really fall like. So go ahead and start adding your browns where you want to see it, and you're just simply doing this by just tapping your brush down. And this is also one of those steps where if you didn't get like any of that green grass in front of the tree trunks, in front of the bottoms of the trees, you can definitely put it this step there, because that's going to again make it look like it's sitting down more in the grass. And when I'm doing this step, I'm not like trying to get like super big globs of paint. I'm just kind of picking up my paint and then tapping my brush down until it pretty much runs out, because I do want some of this to be sheer. Like I want those background things to still come through. So for example, where you can still see the sun shining through here, I want that to still come through. So now that I have that brown going on, I'm going to go in with some red, but I'm actually going to make it a little bit of a darker red. I'm just adding a very, very small amount of the black to it, or you can use the red as is. It's completely up to you. But once you have the shade of red that you want, you're doing the same thing. You're just tapping down some leaves. And you don't have to do a lot of this color, but if you want a lot of it, again, completely up to you. And I'm doing the same thing, tapping it down on the grass, tapping it down on the actual trees and the tree branches. And as you're doing these colors, if you even want some like to kind of look like they've blown onto the walking trail, you definitely can do that. You can just tap it right on there. But I'm just going to tap down a little bit more of this red. The red is again a bit on the brighter side, so I don't want a whole lot of this color. But if you like the red, it's completely up to you. And once you feel like you have enough of that, I'm going to go into my orange. And if you don't have any more orange on your plate, what you're doing is mixing up some yellow and red. And I want to go for like a burnt orange. So you can add a little bit of brown into your mixture, and it's going to give you more of a burnt orange. And again, just placing this down wherever you want to see it at. And as you're doing this, because each color, like the previous color you did might still be wet, these colors will blend. That's completely fine. And you don't have to keep the colors like apart from each other or segregated, you know, layer them right on up. We want to make this look very much fall. We want to give it that nice fall aesthetic. So definitely layer these up. And I'm going to do a lighter shade of this too. So once you feel like you have enough of the burnt orange, add a little bit of white into your orange. And kind of lighten it up a bit. Let's get some over here. So now again, I'm gonna add some white in there. And even if like I don't want to do like yellow leaves, but if you wanted like some yellow leaves, you could mix up yellow and white and do some yellow leaves on here. Completely up to you. I did mix up my orange and white, so that's going to be my lighter shade. And I'm just going to go in filling this in. I'm even going to go a little bit lighter than this. Like I'm going to go for a lighter nude, which is I believe it's the Nivea color that I'm working with. And I'm also going to do some white. If you want some different colors, like if you want some different greens, if you want more browns in yours, please do the colors that you want to make this your fall themed. Or even if you're like trying to make it match specific colors in your home, definitely add the colors that you need to give it that fall vibe. that I have that, I am going to go in now with some of my kind of like almost nude color and just add that where you want to see it at. And again, these will mix, don't worry. You can do some more on the walkway. And I'm going to also add some white. So now I'm just picking up some white. And I'm not adding a whole lot of this. This is just more like to give it a pop of color in some different places. You don't have to do too much of this. Yeah, so once you have it the way that you want it, and you feel like you have all of the colors that you want and it's filled the way that you want, if there are any extra details that you want to add, this is definitely your time to do it. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, and I'm going to go into a little bit of my black paint. So I'm going to go into a little bit of black paint, and I'm going to make some little birds. So just making a dot and pulling some little lines over, because we want to make sure we get the birds in there, because right now they're still hanging out, they're still around. It's not time for them to leave yet. And then also, if you want anything else, like if you want a little animal or something, I'm gonna make maybe a little squirrel right here. Did a little, like a little silhouette of a squirrel. If you look really close at it, it doesn't look like one. But from far back, it definitely does. But again, if you want like little silhouettes of anything, it's completely up to you. Any extra details you want, again, completely up to you. And once you are finished and you have it filled in the way that you want, the last thing you want to make sure to do is simply sign your painting. I am going to actually sign mine right on the tree, so that it looks carved in. And once you've done that, you are completely finished with your fall painting. So again, you can really make this your own. If you want more fall colors, if you want more oranges, more browns in there, it's completely up to you. Make sure you really make this your own, and make sure you sign your name, and you're all done. Thank you all so much for painting with me today. I hope you are enjoying the beginning of fall season. Make sure that you get all of your fall decorations, all of your fall gear, all of your fall spices and foods and drinks, and just really enjoy the season. It's such a fun time of the year. We're getting into all of the holidays, so we're gonna have a lot more paintings to do for the end of this year. And next week, make sure you cut on your bell. Make sure you cut on your notifications now, because next week we're going to be working on a Sweetest Day or Black Love painting. It was requested by Kiera Thomas, so we're going to be working on a Black Love painting next week. So make sure you cut on those notifications, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.